So this is the prompt card for week 13 at Journal52.com, and this is a lovely painted kind of pomegranate, and the prompt is the word seed, and we have on the back the propagative source of anything, the fertilised mature ovule of a flowering plant containing any embryo or rudimentary plant, a source of development or growth. Synonyms: fountainhead, germ, origin, root or seedbed. And the prompt: create a spread that focuses on seeds. Seeds of dreams, seeds of ideas, seeds of discontent or actual seeds. I like the seeds of ideas. What is seed-like in you right now? What ideas are taking root? What new thing wants to come forth? What will it take to nurture it into being? I like the idea of the seeds of ideas and how we nurture our thoughts in our heads. So that's what I'm going to focus on for my page. So this is a circular piece. It's 8 inches in diameter. So it's 300 GSM or 140 pound watercolour cardstock. So this is what I like to use for the base of my art journal pages. So this is Bockingford watercolour cardstock, and it's from West Designs. So what I've done for this particular art journal page is on my computer I've already printed out and cut out an 8-inch image. So I've got a large picture of a lady's head and I've cut that so it fits within. So I need to glue this down completely. So to do that I'm going to have to use Mod Podge, but I'm going to be very, very careful when I do this because I'm going to try and eliminate as many bubbles and wrinkles as I possibly can, and that means coating both this and this, which is something that I don't normally do. I just normally splash it on and then cover it, or put it on and then cover over the top. So I'm going to try and do it without as many, well, trying to reduce the amount of wrinkles and bubbles and stuff that I possibly can in this, so it may take a little while. So there we go, not one single wrinkle or bubble in the entire image. So now the reason I was paying particular attention to this is that it's a inkjet printed image. It's not cut from a glossy magazine. So this has been printed off using my home inkjet computer, my Hewlett-Packard one. So there are a couple of spots of where the glue has transferred, but I'm not bothered about it because I'm going to be painting over this. I'm going to be adding a colour wash over the top of this anyway, so I'm happy with how that's turned out. So I just want to make sure that it dries perfectly before I start adding on my top coat of the sealer. So that's the entire of the top layer of my page sealed now, so that ink shouldn't run anymore. So now it's time to add some colour. This is the Tree Branch Archival ink, and I'm going to go all the way around the outside of the page using the blending foam. And it's at this point I realised that I haven't trimmed off the excess paper from the printout from the card. It was slightly larger, so at some point here I will stop and then grab my scalpel and try and trim all the excess paper off. So I did manage to tear slightly a little bit of the paper, but it's on the edge, so I'm not particularly bothered because I know it's going to get covered over with the rest of that ink when I go back around it again anyway. So no harm done. So as you can see, those tears have disappeared. So I'm just having a quick tidy up, and then it's time to start adding the main colour to my art journal page. So for that, I'm bringing out the Shattered stencil. It's one of the layering stencils from Tim Holtz and Stampers Anonymous, the leaf green archival ink from Ranger, and of course the blending foam. So I'm using this Shattered stencil because once you've actually added the colour through, it gives you that kind of texture you get on leaves where you have all that veining between. So when you look at a leaf very, very close up, you can see all the little veins and stuff, and that's what this kind of reminds me of, and that's why I'm using this on this page. I want that kind of leaf effect. So that's pretty much it for the green on that leaf veining effect. So I do want to make sure that the archival ink is dry. So I'm just going to bring out the heat gun and just give it a gentle warming just to make sure I don't smudge any of it. So this is a printout from my computer. I would have done this with my Dymo letter tag label maker, but unfortunately I've run out. So I've ordered some more labels from eBay, which should be here in a few days. So until that does arrive, I've decided to use paper. Now I've already laid kind of the image of the face behind the writing as well, so you can just see the faint image of the woman's nose behind the writing. So it's so that I can position it properly on the paper, and I've done it large because I wanted it to go right the way across her face. So now that all my torn edges are kind of rough and ready, I can then add some Mod Podge to the back of this panel, and then I can stick it straight down over the top. Now, bearing in mind that this is, again, inkjet printed, I know that some of that ink is going to bleed, but I'm prepared for that. I know that I'm going to be covering this with more of the green ink and that leaf shatter effect too. So I'm not particularly bothered about it getting a bit grungy, because it just adds to a little bit of the depth and a bit of the texture. So just with a piece of rag, a bit of cloth, I'm just tapping down and trying to remove some of the air bubbles and a few of those wrinkles. I get rid of 99% of them, so I'm happy about that. So I'm just going to dry it off, and then I can start camouflaging that by bringing out some more ink. So starting with the leaf green again, I'm going to just carry on and adding that shatter pattern over the top to give the impression of that leaf kind of texture again. So I'm going to try and just blend it in and disguise the main part of that panel. So I'm happy with that layer of green now. So I want to bring in some other colours, some lighter colours. So I want to bring in some colours that reflect colours that you would get in a garden. So I'm also bringing out the saffron archival ink and do the same thing, but not all over, just in patches. So happy with that yellow effect. Something a little bit more darker. It's time to bring out the orange. So this is Tiger Lily. So I also want to introduce some more organic shapes in there. So to do that, I've brought my vine leaves stencil and the tree branch archival ink, and using that tree branch archival ink, I'm going to add some leaf shapes onto the page too. So now that that's complete, I wanted to add a little bit of contrast ink, a little bit of highlight to it. So I decided to bring out my white acrylic paint from Dina Wakley Media, just add a little bit onto my craft mat with some water, which I'm going to mix together just to make a kind of fluid white paint. And then I'm going to flick some splatters around the page. And then just with a piece of tissue, I'm just going to remove some of those little white specks where I don't want them. So once I've tidied up, I'm just going to grab hold of my heat gun and just gently dry those splatters of white before moving on and adding my final touch, which is a little white border all the way around using the Dylusions white paint pen. So once I've finished with the border, I also decided I want to add a little bit of white into the main image as well. So I decided to add some little white highlight doodles around the eyes and the lips. And that's it. My page is almost complete. All I have to do now is just sign and date it, and then this page is complete. So I hope you've enjoyed this kind of unusual take on the Journal 52 prompt for week 13, which is the word seed. If you have enjoyed it, please remember to give it a thumbs up, share the video with your friends, and if you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel already, you can do so by clicking the button at the end of the video. I'd just like to thank all of my angels, because without you, this video would not have been possible. Thank you. That's all from me for now. I will see you all again real soon. Bye for now.